Good evening. How are you? I just got a few minutes of daylight left, so I'm going to get into it. Temperature's 82 where I am. It was warmer than that all day. But I've been busy, and then I spent some time with MSNBC talking about today's events. And so I thought I'd give you a few minutes of my perspective. I don't know if you saw us on Ari, but it was a terrific show. I thought it brought together the points of the day, but let me give you my perspective. My perspective is that during the day, doing the day in a semi-chronological order, the House Overwrought Oversight Committee brought governors to the Hill because they claimed that they were protecting immigrants. And they were very frustrated because the governors were very capable people. And the longer you listen to governors talk about the problems of their state, the more you realize that very few Congress people in the lower chambers who've never been a governor or managed such a large operation appreciate what it takes. And that was evident in the hearing. And the way the Republicans dealt with it, instead of asking the questions upon which they could have a basis to ask further questions, they had too many questions for the 5 minutes they had. And instead of following a line of question and perhaps argument, one line of argument, they would basically make statements and say, "So, is that right?" And then the person would start to answer to correct the question, which was loaded with false presumptions and inaccurate law. And this would go on, and so nothing was achieved. So it's sort of like the Congress can be worse than inert, and the people asking the questions I'm being critical of were the Republican members of the committee. And this went on for the day, and I had it on my desk while I was working on my cases. And so I can't say I was faithful 100%, but at one point, one of the members of the committee told the governor of New York that she was a murderer. And then everybody erupted, and I would categorize the conduct of the members of the committee as more like a kindergarten on the Republican side. And several times they were asked about statutory sections, which I believe they knew about, but they weren't really given a chance to discuss it for fear of they'd say something that would overcome the proposition the Republicans were publishing. Now, on the Hill, I did notice there were people that knew how to ask questions. And then my view was, if you're going to make a statement, just make a statement. Don't use a person as a prop. That's demeaning. And it's also transparently, it's transparently offensive because the person's standing there and they're saying, you have red hair, don't you? People have red hair are socialists. You're a socialist, aren't you? No, well, you do have red hair, don't you? Yes. It was that kind of circular argument. And you have members of Congress to write laws, but they don't know that much about it. They're not lawyers often. And you don't have to be a lawyer to know these things, but you have to learn about the law in order to make the law. You have to run a hearing to find the facts, to use those facts to write the law. You have to figure out a way to consider the unintended consequences of the law you have. And the propositions that the Republicans relied on was basically, we can do whatever the blank we want, and you can't stop us, but you are trying, and you're enemies of the people. And that theme has become louder in the recent days since it's been manifest that what happened in LA was not really much of a disturbance. And the longer it's analyzed, the more it appears it was a provocation to attack California and to amass troops just days before the parade, the Vanity Parade in D.C. Now, a funny thing happened on the way to the end of that hearing on the Hill, and it was that Noam, the woman who shoots dogs in the face, or at least a dog in the face, and admits to it and writes about it like it's a great thing, she was holding a press conference in L.A. And the senator from California, Patia, he was supposed to have a meeting with her, and he found out that he was in a room down the hall from where she was, and so he thought he'd go down and look in on the press conference. The press conference, according to what I've heard since, because at the time I didn't hear these things, but the press conference that she was holding basically was saying that it is the leadership, the socialist leadership of the state, the governor and the mayor of LA, that are I don't want to paraphrase it, and I wish I had it in front of me exactly, but the bottom line was they were now justifying bringing the National Guard and Marines to California because of the political ideology of those elected by the people, both the governor and the mayor. Now, both have been critical of Trump, and they have been smarter in terms of their openness to identify what could be at risk and to tailor a remedy that was no greater nor smaller than a presumption that there could be a danger. Thus, we have a curfew. But we had no other problems. And you see, that doesn't fit the playbook the Republicans want. They want something happening. Now, on this theme about the Republicans wanting to get at the leadership is interesting, because if you followed what the governor did, Governor Newsom, he made a statement basically accusing Trump and his people of marching toward monarchy. He talked about us being in a very difficult situation. And he basically fairly made the case against Trump, and that how we were at a special juncture now, and this moment had finally come that we were concerned would happen, in which the autocratic impulse of Trump and his supporters was going to come to roost, in this case starting with California, but it's going to spread elsewhere. Now, one of the reactions to the governor and statements beforehand was, no, we could arrest the governor, or we could arrest the mayor of the city, that moron who's supposedly in charge of these things. And so some good reporter went to Trump, and the tape is available, and said, what exactly would you claim is the crime that the governor of the state was responsible for? And he said, well, he was elected governor. And that was basically it. And he's done a terrible job. That's what he said. But then today we see with Noem, the secretary in the cabinet, that she was saying this at her press conference. So these guys are trying to define an ideological attack on elected representatives, claiming their position is a crime, and coming up empty on evidence of the public who's at peace in its protest now, that they can't get any mileage out of attacking these people. Now, at the same time this is going on, you probably are aware that ICE agents are crawling over every place that they can in LA. And when I say that they can, I mean they physically can. Legally, they can't. I can't stop you without being a Fourth Amendment violation unless an impartial magistrate, a judge, says I may do that. I don't think a judge would agree if you cancel a person's authorization to be here without notifying them and giving them a chance to fight about it. Then you go arrest them and you say they're not here legally and you rush them out of the country. Whoa, that's not due process. That's not fair. That's wrong. Due process is you tell me what you think I did, and you show me some evidence, and I get a right to a hearing, before there's a judgment, before an impartial magistrate who decides it, not you who have the appetite to bring me down. So a judge today, and may have decided by now, even though it's not so long after I heard that the judge was going to do this, a judge may decide today that sending the National Guard and Marines to California is wrong and unnecessary and in violation of the applicable law. So that in a nutshell is what I saw today. At one point, Ari and I discussed where do we go from here, and my position was we have the judges who are protecting us. We have the people supporting those judges who do, aside from the Supreme Court. We have the public prepared to protest. We have discovered leaders in the governor of the state and the mayor of Los Angeles and the senator who was manhandled rather than letting him attend a press conference by the secretary in the cabinet. We have demonstrations across the country on Saturday, and we have a poll that says 76% think the president is not entitled to this vanity parade. It's going to cost us, I think the latest cost was $45 or $46 million. You know, we're supposed to clean up and be efficient, and we did this, and $16 million of that money is to repair the roads from the heft of the tanks that are going to roll on the streets in the District of Columbia. So those are kind of an outline without too many adjectives, because the facts scream for themselves. Where do I think we go from here? I think we're going to pivot. We'll see. By the end of the weekend, we'll have a good idea where we stand. I spoke yesterday of the force of truth that was the ally of Gandhi in his plans for protest, because he realized that any force physical that he might use could be pushed back and people could be destroyed. Now, of course, the flip of that is that passive resistance, peaceful resistance, also can bring down the anger, the ire of the government that is unsound, which is what we have now. And so the peaceful presentation, the quiet, well, it doesn't have to be quiet, but the protest without physical offense is the key to turning this nation against the wannabe monarch. It's hard to believe that this is where we are, but we're in a better place than we were a week ago. And unfortunately, it's because it's been physical, it's been somewhat violent, and the people, I think, are pulling back from that. And they don't want that. And there's more punishment coming. And seeing ICE agents go into, different open public places and routing out people they believe are violating the law when they have no idea. So the brown shirts have arrived, and it's time for us to go out and kick ass by being like the senator was today. He's a big man. He didn't swing and punch anybody in the mouth. You or I might have had trouble doing that. But you see, he's dealt with discrimination since he was young. He said he knew that when a cop confronted you and they ask you to kneel, you should kneel, because other things get worse. We've had persons of color talk to us before about the talk that they had with their children. The very real problem that a child, a person of color, went alone with a cop who didn't conform fast enough, could find their head opened, could find them disappearing, could just find them in jail, could find them abused. And that's what we're fighting about. Because not only if they can do this to a senator, what they did today, when they knew who he was, they can do it to anybody. And they don't have to be persons of color. And some people who take heart that, oh, they're white and male, they'll be okay. Forget it. Forget it. Because elected officials are being targeted for their beliefs in a nation that says you have free speech. But we don't right now. And so I quoted Sir Thomas More again, and I said, as he said, that if you run down all the laws of the land, man's laws, not God's law, who could stand in the wind that would blow? We are going to stand in the wind that will blow by being faithful to our principles. And they are going to lose because they are wrong and evil. And they defy the founding principles of the nation where we live. And so we're going to put an end to these people. And it starts this weekend, it seems to me. All the best. I say good evening to you as I lose the light, although it looks pretty good on the phone. Until tomorrow. All the best. Bye-bye.